All right, for warm up 9-9, I'm going to have you copy all this work, everything you see here, even these generic formula forms, and then the 5 words to show me that you listen. So again, write all of this. Your grade's going up because of it. You're not doing it for nothing. All right, but here we go. What you need to know after the first few weeks. Here we go. Sequences. If I have a sequence that goes up by adding every single time, that makes it an arithmetic sequence. Write that down, arithmetic. That means if you graph it, it's going to be a straight line. That means it's going up by the same amount every single time. That's what arithmetic sequences do. We're going to start assigning these function values. We're going to say this is the function at 1 when I plug in x is 1. This is when I plug in 2. This is when I plug in 3 for x. Again, we'll come up with the equation here in a little bit. You need to know that if you're adding 3 to the right, first random word is cloud. Cloud, if you're listening. Adding 3 to the right, going to the left, I'm going to be subtracting 3 to the left, because for the explicit form, I need the 0 term. I need f of 0. So if I go back, that all-important f of 0 term is taking that 2 right there and subtracting 3 away from it. So again, you're taking this value right here and taking away 3. So 2 minus 3 on your calculator should give you -1. That's all you need for these two forms right there. You need that adding number going to the right, that adding number not going to the left, that adding number, we call that your D, your common difference. All you need to do for these formulas is just replace that D number right here, and then for the harder one, replace that D number right here. The X stays the same, but then take that f of 0 value, which is that -1, that's going to go right here. So that's where I'm getting these numbers for these forms of equations you need to know. Second word is bird. Bird. So here I go. For recursive, if I just want you to write it, here it is just written. Most of the time, they're going to have you just write it, not really use it, because recursive is just knowing what's the term before it and what you're doing. All you got to do is take that 1 before it and know that you're adding 3 to easily get that next term in the sequence. That's why we don't really use that much, because easily to find that 4th term, just take that 8 plus 3, 11. Don't really need a formula for that. Recursive, if you know the one before it and what you're adding, you don't really need a formula to keep going one after the other. Explicit is jumping ahead though. If I had you write just the equation for explicit, here's just the equation with that D number right there, 3. My pen lets me write. That X always stays there. And that f of 0 term, whether it be positive or negative, right there. There's my equation. We use this more often because this one, if you want to jump ahead in the sequence, maybe to the 37th term, that means I show it like that. That means that's the number I'm plugging in for x. So I take that equation where there x is, I replace it with 37, times that by 3, take away 1, will give me next term in the sequence. I'm sorry, the 37th term in the sequence gives me 111 minus 1. So again, the 37th term is 110. And it would be pointless to keep going all the way to the 5th one, 6th one, 7th one, all the way to the 37th term. No, when you're jumping ahead, use the explicit form. When you're just going one term after the other, use the recursive form. If I have you just write them, there they are just written. If I say now use them, put them into use. Here's me using the explicit. Not really gonna do much with using recursive. All right, new one is this geometric. Geometric means you're not going up by the same amount each time. This is going up by 4, this is going up by 8. That means it's not arithmetic. It's not a straight line. This is what we call geometric, which if you graphed it would be a curved line like that, or a curved line going down like that. Exponential, another word for it. Another word for arithmetic, linear. So again, write those words down. These are words you need to know. Linear, straight line, arithmetic, geometric, curved line, exponential. Write that to get full credit. All right, so for this one, I could see I'm timesing by 2. Which means if I label this F1, F2, F3, I still need you to backtrack to find that 0 term, even for these exponential geometric ones, these new ones today. So that means the opposite of timesing by 2 is dividing by 2, but remember, we don't show division, we show times all the way through. Dividing by 2 is the same as timesing by the reciprocal of 2. So 2, which is 2 over 1, timesing by the reciprocal is 1/2. If I take this 4 right here and times it by 1/2, by definition straight across, that gives me 4 over 2, which is just the value 2. If I had to keep going, maybe to the f of -1 term, remember you could go left or right in these sequences, 2 times 1/2 gives me 2 over 2, which is 1. And then of course 1 times 1/2 would give me 1/2. If I kept going, that would be 1/4 and then 1/8, knowing that the top number doesn't change, only the bottom. All right, third word is whale. Whale. All right, but again, for this form, all you need is that number on top. We call that the R number. R. R is 2. I have R and I have my f of 0 term. So I could use those to plug in right here. Plug that R in right here. That X always stays the same. Take that 2, plug that right there. So here I go. For recursive, if I had you just write the form, that would be f of x equals f of x minus 1 times 2. So if I know the next term, all I got to do is take 16 and times 2 to get 32. No formula needed. That's the recursive formula. One used to find one term right after the other. Explicit, the one we're going to use though, is f of x. Put that 2 number right here. There's my 2. Plug that R number. For this, it's 2. That's not always the same. Sometimes it's usually different, but for this example, my R number matched my F0 number. There's my formula. If I had you jump ahead in the sequence, maybe let's just go to the 5th one here. If I go to the 5th term, plug in 5 here, where I put that X number, I put in the exponential spot right here. And that means by definition, or by rule, do this exponent first before you multiply that last 2, technically. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 5 of those 2's. I could show you on your calculator how to do these, multiplying 5 of those 2's. So when I do that, 2 to the 5th becomes 32. And of course, all I got to do is times that last 2, and that gives me the 5th term in the sequence is 64, which makes sense. All right, 4th word is truck. Truck. So again, know these formulas. You have to memorize these. You have to memorize how to write them. You're going to need to commit to memory these generic forms, which just show you the parts that where you're plugging in. You need to be able to do these exponential ones. All right, last word is car. Car. Thanks for listening. Talk to you in a bit.